kill this thing together.
Let's get to it. We're not the people we used to be. We can't solve this.
Yeah, we can.
You think that you can manage the consequences? You can't.
Yeah, so kind of diving in. So, Blake, it feels like your series is coming at a time in which media is more fascinated than ever with the multiverse. Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture a few years back. Avengers Doomsday is coming out later. What is it, do you think, about the multiverse that is so fascinating for fans?
I don't know, but I'll just say I find it really annoying how prevalent the multiverse has become.
You must.
Because the book came out in like 16, and it's not like Dark Matter did not invent the multiverse by any stretch. There were things before that had, but it wasn't the plot device of every Marvel movie. I feel like it's being used a little as a crutch in some ways now.
Yes.
And I take offense. I'm sorry, I went on a rant. Ask the question. What's the question that you wanted me to answer?
No, I find it interesting. Your book kind of did kind of buck that trend coming in 2016. Like, what is it about the multiverse that is so intriguing for audiences?
For us, I can only speak for our show, but it's a mechanism that lets us lean into character in a way that you really can't lean into character as deeply without looking at all the possibilities of what your life might have been. And we get to actually show those other lives, and we get to have our characters meet other versions of themselves. And I just think it allows us to explore a lot of rich material. It's just an excuse to really delve into character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the word rich there because the drama is so rich, the character work is so rich. Amanda, I wanted to ask you, given the role that Blair plays in this season, she was such an intriguing character in the previous season, kind of popping up in these very like poignant, important moments. But here we get to see her kind of step up and play a larger role in the narrative. What excited you about taking this next step in Blair's journey?
I'd love to answer that. This is going to drive me nuts. Can I move the poster over so we can see it?
Oh,
Oh.
Walking Joel. I'm going to move it this way. I'm sorry, guys. There.
there it is.
Is it there?
There we go.
Jesus, I made it worse. Okay, to answer your question, I just to be able to play with these actors was so exciting in season one, just to be in the proximity of Elise and Jennifer Connelly and Joel. And so then the idea that I was brought back in a just a larger capacity was it was terrifying, if I have to admit.
Really?
Yeah, I was scared. I was scared. I was scared to go head to head with these performers. They're really, really good. I feel like I'm good, but these are some pretty strong actors. And so, but in talking to Blake and Jackie, our co-showrunner, I was saying this to you yesterday, I felt so given such amount of freedom and trust and a space to talk about what I liked or talk through scenes or walk through scenes. And so initially scared, but then so excited. And again, I feel like I'm ruined now because I have to go back to play just one version of a character after having the experience of being able to go back and forth and play different versions. It's the biggest gift for an actor. It really is the best gift.
Yeah, you were kind of spoiled in that regard. Yeah, Blake, I wanted to ask you as well. This first season covers the kind of core narrative of your novel, but this season kind of goes into uncharted territory, not based on source material. Amanda used the word terrifying and scared. I'm wondering if you were terrified or scared, or even liberated to approach a second season in which you weren't basing it off of like a text that you had written previously.
Yeah, terrified at first, and then very freeing later. But initially it was, I mean, everything I've written has been for the screen has been based on my own source material. it doesn't make it super easy, but at least you have sort of the foundation of the house to jump from. And
Mm.
obviously things are changing because it's a visual medium, but you have a great starting point. So to like look at the blank page, not of a novel where, I've started mini novels where I'm like, "Ah, I'm just not feeling this. That goes in the drawer. I didn't have that luxury. It was the blank page that, you know, 500 people in our crew are relying on. Um, so it took a while for me to also, because I'm really hard on ideas, especially at the outset. I don't trust them. I I just think I don't want to fall in love with an idea. I want to be really swept away and seduced by it, and that takes time. So with season two, it was a painful start, but then once we got going, I saw, oh, wow, we can do like some amazing things. There's a couple standalone episodes which I never would have imagined that we would get to play in that kind of a sandbox, and it really made doing the season worthwhile.
Those are some of my favorite in season two as well, because they feel like we didn't get those in season one, right? But it kind of broke up the narrative and yet informed it more broadly. Amanda, you touched on this kind of prospect of playing different versions of the same character, which, like I said, I imagine is kind of spoiling you as an actress. How do you ensure that the versions of Blair across the series feel distinct? Because they are distinct, they're different, like kind of variants of one another, but at their core are similar. Like it seems like a particularly exciting challenge for an actor.
That's a fantastic question. Music,
Hmm.
Oh,
music.
okay.
Different versions have, and there was only like Blair 3. It was I just like touched upon her, but music is such a in for me, and it started many years ago. It probably started in theater school. So music and then physicality. There is Blair 2 and Blair 3 have a different physicality. There's a bit of a I'm sorry, Blair 1 and Blair 2 have different physicalities.
Yeah, I was
There's a
like Blair 3.
I know, no, there's a bit of a there was a Blair 3 in season 1.
Yes.
But there's a so for this season, there's a bit more of a softness
Mm.
from one Blair to the other, quite purposefully, quite intentionally. And then the physicality changes slightly, but then to keep them the same, there's a core. And so at the top of my script, I would always write, I keep going back to this word, sort of moral compass, moral compass, moral compass. I feel like Blair is sort of good and always fighting for good. And other characters in this are fighting for a tremendous amount of different things. They are fighting for different versions of good, but not just the overall concept of good. And I think that that's very Blair. And so a strong moral compass, but then music and physicality really help change it up. You blast heavy metal in your ear, you're going to change the way you act. Or you blast like 90s R&B, it's going to change.
That's so interesting how like that music and preparation informed your process, and the performance is
Yeah.
so nuanced. You can tell those little subtle differences, but at its core is the same person. Blake, I'm really interested in the kind of approach or balance between the kind of heavy, perhaps even dense science of the show, but also the kind of drama. I think you do an excellent job of like not dumbing down these concepts like superposition, but also making them very accessible. So as a writer transitioning from a medium like novels into television, how do you approach that balance? How do you toe that line between kind of accessibility but also not dumbing down the material?
I think it's for the show, it's the same challenge I face with my novels. It's in doing edits on one right now where I'm literally trying to dial in that specific balance between I don't want the science to feel just tossed in there. It needs to be like baked into the story itself. And it also has to have a certain level of like rigor behind the science because I do think that people want to be challenged. And I do think people read my books and hopefully watch my shows because they want to have some like they want to have to do a little work on their end to like
Mm.
follow what's going on. I think our audience is incredibly smart. And then on the other side is the emotion and the character stuff and threading that needle between the two is the job.
Yeah, I watched the show with my brother and my writing partner Josh, and we always like kind of talk about it afterward, and I said to him, the show is complex but not convoluted, and I think that
Oh,
like
wow. I
you know
love
like
that.
it's in depth, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. So yeah, Amanda, so the show explores these this idea of roads not taken, how life could have been if one had made one decision as opposed to another. You've had roles in a ton of notable projects, Kim's Convenience, Jason X, which I love, Orphan Black, all these different things. Um, but I imagine that there have been many opportunities throughout your career where maybe you decided not to pursue a certain role, or you something didn't pan out for one
Yeah.
reason or another. Yeah. In playing a role with such a complex existential question at its core, did you ever pause and think about maybe the roads not taken in your own life?
All the time. These are fantastic questions, George.
Oh,
All the
thank you.
The show really does it to you, especially when you in I like that Blake just said, audiences are smart, because when you're working with and for people who um assume that you are intelligent, it gives you permission to then ask intelligent questions. So it's been lovely to sort of yeah, ask myself emotionally intelligent questions. And it also sometimes translates into the dinner table with my children. But back to your point, yeah, it does. It gave me a lot of pause, a lot of opportunity to reflect on my life, choices that I've made, and especially, again, to your point, career choices. Because and you said yourself, you're a writer as well.
Uh, Reviews and media, yeah, yeah. So not the kind of challenging work that you do, but yeah.
So challenging. And so you look back on, it's like you can follow the breadcrumbs to where one job sort of grew out of another and grew out of another. And I think often, even if I didn't follow that certain breadcrumb, will still have brought me to this point. And I think our show asks that. Maybe if I had gone on a different path, would it still bring me back to the same point? Would it bring me back to the same person I am? I think about that all of the
Hmm.
time. And I don't know the answer.
Hmm.
I know who does know the answer. This guy
I know the
knows.
answer.
I think it's a testament to how like lasting the show is. The fact that even well after like I watched it, like those questions still kind of linger in your mind. What could have been? What life could have been like? Okay, I guess as a final question as I wrap up here, I was wondering if you could both describe season two of Dark Matter succinctly in 3 words.
Wow. Succinctly in 3 words.
uh, um, I would say, oh my gosh,
You want to go? I'll
you
start.
go.
All right. I would say emotional,
Oh,
home,
damn it.
um, and friendship.
Mm.
Beautiful. Uh, I would say, um, war,
Hmm.
world, wound.
Wow.
Ooh, okay. I like that. I like that. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I feel like that perfectly captures this this season.